These girls, Shamima and the other girls, they were underage at the time that they left this country. Shamima was 15 when she left this country. She at no point has been given that right to be seen as a child.
So what do we do? Amra kita kortam te. Amra kita Surif India goro boitam nira kita kortam.
We didn't see a single citizen deprivation case. But in the years since 2010, we've seen over 200.
How would someone get brainwashed at the age of 15?
Big questions about how they were even able to cross all these security.
Shamimar ei position lagi dayi ke?
I think that the intelligence services.
Why do you think?
We don't even know the extent of how much they were involved.
Right, sister. Where do you see Shamima Begum case? A bit of a hope that she might come back to UK, but it might be another year away. We don't know how many. Wait, let me just give it to you. You say, where do you see everything on Shamima Begum?
I think Shamima Begum's case is an example of where the justice system in the UK is at this moment. Unfortunately, we have a system which is essentially a two-tier system. I know the right often talk about a two-tier system, but the reality is the two-tier system does exist, but unfortunately it is geared against people of colour. Runnymede Trust and Reprieve have just very recently issued a report about this, which I think Akunji mentioned the 9 million people who are at risk of their citizenship rights because of the Nationality and Borders Act, but also of previous legislations which have been essentially strengthened against people of colour. So in the years between 1973 and 2002, we didn't see a single citizen deprivation case. But in the years since 2010, we've seen over 200. So that shows the trajectory of the legal system in the UK. It is essentially creating a two-tier system where people of colour are more at risk. If they do something wrong, which people in all populations and backgrounds and religions do, they are more at risk of having, much more at risk of having their citizenship revoked. Right now, at this moment, I think it's 62% of people from Black communities and 60% of people from Asian communities who are at risk of having their citizenship revoked. And there are two clear places where we can see this two-tier system sort of play out. When we look at the grooming victims of, say, Rochdale or various other places in the UK, where the victims were primarily white, they were seen as victims. They were given that, the appropriate sympathetic viewpoint that they were groomed. They were victims because they were children. These girls, Shamima and the other girls, they were underage at the time that they left this country. Shamima was 15 when she left this country. She at no point has been given that right to be seen as a child that was groomed and preyed upon by predatory actors. Secondly, the fact that she has had her citizenship revoked. She has only had her citizenship revoked because she is a person of colour and has some kind of tie to another country. If Shamima had been white and she had been in a similar situation where she had gone abroad somewhere to help an organisation that the British government does not like, there would be no question of having her citizenship revoked. So in two clear places, we see the justice system working opposite and against people of colour. It is essentially racist, but as Akunji also mentioned, it is about power as well. But power politics has racism baked into it.
So what do we do? Amra kita kortam te. Amra kita Surif India goro boitam nira kita kortam.
I think we need to get active with regards to talking about these cases and fighting back. So people like us, obviously we're not directly involved in the case, unlike like her lawyers, etc. They've got more practical and direct involvement. But people, just ordinary civilians like ourselves, we need to ensure that we're fighting back. Whether it's working with our communities, working with collective organizations that are fighting back on these issues, looking at the research that's produced and not basically taking the government's word at face value. We need to question our government. We need to vote accordingly. We need to ensure that people like this current Labour government and the preceding Conservative government aren't handed the reins of power. Right now, when we look at the way that geopolitical system has shifted, it is about might and it is about sort of the Western world over the global South. Essentially a racist position. We have got many issues that we need to get organised on, and right now the time to organise collectively is just more urgent than ever.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. Right, sister. you've been hearing. Where do you see this?
I definitely agree with the other guests. I think also not just, I think it's also mainly to do about political overreach. I think we need to understand why this decision was made at the time. And it was due to, Sajid Javid's kind of pathetic ambitions of becoming Tory Prime Minister one day. And what does this mean also for British Bangladeshis today?
I think Priti Patel also was involved in this in the beginning, no?
Sajid Javid took it upon himself.
Yeah.
So if you remember, she and the other girls had left in 2015, and then they were known to be in ISIS territory all that time.
Yeah.
No one's citizenship was stripped at all. It was only when there was the leadership bid for the Conservative move that Sajid Javid thought, here's somebody I can do something about and prove that I'm no longer, frankly, no longer Muslim, really.
Yeah.
So he used her to prove his position.
Okay, right.
And
So let's go into how would someone get brainwashed on age of 15?
well, I think that's an important question because we don't actually know.
We lost two. I don't know about the other one because she's not in limelight.
Yeah, we don't know also how much involvement the intelligence services.
I don't think they had any.
Oh, they had
No,
huge,
they did have huge.
involvement.
Yeah,
Huge
it was a
involvement.
Canadian intelligence spy that helped these groups of girls actually cross into Syria. These were a group of young girls, and they went to the airport alone. There's big questions about how they were even able to cross all these security and able to actually get into Syria. And it was, it's known now that a Canadian intelligence officer actually.
They visited actually to Turkey, Istanbul, and then from there,
Yeah.
so easily they can, if you like to go
If
to
you're a
the,
14, 15-year-old girl, vulnerable
no
girl.
one will question in the
Yeah.
immigration.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back slightly. শামিমার এই পজিশন লাগি দায়ী কে? Who?
Who?
কে দায়ী?
Who is responsible?
Responsible for this?
For her citizenship deprivation.
No. She went to ISIS, all these dramas going on for years. Who?
Well, I think that the intelligence services.
Why do you think?
We don't even know the
intelligence
extent of how much they were involved, but we know for a fact that they were there to support and to help, young vulnerable people basically cross into Syria and join ISIS to gather intelligence for themselves. There were, I think over 100 British citizens that actually came back to Britain after they went to Syria. But it was Shamima Begum that is a national security threat, and also because of the special courts, we again don't know the extent of the involvement. But I think we can intelligently, assume that they were really heavily involved with supporting these 3-4, groups of girls crossing over, and that's a dangerous thing that we need to all